Next on stage, we have Khadim Batti, co-founder and CEO of Whatfix. Khadim is here to talk to us about how to sell globally.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sales means earning dollars, right? It should not be boring. Good afternoon. So we'll not go through theoretical, what is inside sales and all. I guess a lot of you guys might be knowing. We'll go through how we build our inside sales model, which might be applicable to some of you. If not the whole way, some of the parts might be applicable. So before that, a little bit background about us. So I'm Khadim, co-founder and CEO of Whatfix. So Whatfix is a SaaS platform which accelerates product adoption. So we provide in-app navigation, so it can help users to complete tasks successfully, and as well as improve their productivity by automation. So that's what we do. We are agnostic to sectors or industry. We have customers across several industry verticals. More than 300 customers globally. As you can see, more than 65% of our customers are from US, 15-20% from Europe. Even though we started from India, today 95% of our revenue comes outside India, actually. So primarily, we are built via inside sales model, as we'll see. If you would have asked this question to me last year, like how much revenue comes from inside sales, I would have said 95%. Today, there are some other channels which started contributing, that is outbound as well as partnership. So as of today, our revenue from inside sales is 80%. So how many are founders in this audience? Founders with paying customers? Awesome. So we have paying customers, that means product market fit for many of you would have been achieved, right? So I think there was a separate session before this for product market fit. So product market fit is hyped so much that once you achieve product market fit, the expectation is there'll be rocket ship after that. Like we hit the pot of gold, and we have to grow rapidly after that. But does it happen in all the scenarios, right? The hockey stick curve, everybody needs this. But somewhere, even after product market fit, we see those symptoms, like growth is still slow. Is it a process problem? We start questioning, do we have a capable team? What's missing there? Or every sale is happening, but founder is involved. So what is missing there? So that's what, of late, a lot of places I keep hearing that after product market fit, there's something called go-to-market fit. That is basically building your sales and marketing playbook. So once you have sales and marketing playbook, every dollar what you add in your company actually fuels your growth faster. Your pipeline your pipeline from the marketing or the lead gen channel keeps filling up. Your sales actually starts pushing up. You actually struggle to start recruiting people. Actually, that's what you end up as a founder doing most of your time, right? Every quarter and quarter, you would you will have a predictability, like where would I end after quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3. So how do we get this go-to-market fit? So before that, since I was talking about inside sales, what is inside sales? Inside sales is nothing but selling remotely. Right from nurturing, getting the leads, to demonstrating to the customers, closing the deal right from the remote place, not at the in-person with the customers. And a couple of more data points from the market, like even in US, a lot of larger enterprises are shifting their dollars to build the inside sales model. And one of the other survey from DC's advisory in India, that also shows that a lot of companies are putting more dollars towards inside sales. Now, let's see the first, many of you, as you mentioned, are founders with a paying customer. So a lot of you would have gone through these initial steps. Once you have your MVP, the founder starts going to the market and start selling their product, right? So they try to figure out what's the need. Is there a need for the product in the market? Is anybody willing to pay? Does this product solve the problem, what it's intended to? Which segment it sells well? Because you might have built a horizontal solution where it resonates maximum. Who is actually ideal persona? So all these answers would give you what's your ideal customer profile. Once you are clear about ideal customer profile, it makes it easy for you to start spending dollars on your lead generation model. In our case, for the first 10 customers at Whatfix, we were 2 co-founders, me and Kumar. All our first 10 customers came not from inside sales. It's from outbound. So after building our MVP, my co-founder used to collect the list of all the SaaS companies in India, collect the target persona whom we want to reach out, either product manager or if it's a small company, CEO or a CTO. I used to personalize each mail and send it to them. We would have sent maybe in 2 to 3 months time frame around 500 emails and got around 20-25 demonstrations or demos, meeting set. And we used to try to visit them in person. So this is totally contrary to what we were discussing earlier, right? Because when we go in person initially, it helps us to see the reaction. We can actually understand whether it's, when you meet in person, build relationship. And it answers a lot of questions which helps us to iterate much faster, which would have been otherwise difficult from a remote place. So, and also both me and my co-founder from engineering background, we haven't done any sales before this. So it also helped us to empathize with the customers, potential customers, what they're looking for and all. So this helped us to get to the product market fit pretty quickly. Out of these first 10 customers, 9 were from India. 1 was from France, so that was sold remotely. And that came inbound. Remaining all 9 came from outbound, as I mentioned. So once you achieve that initial MVP or a product market fit, now you want to start ramping up, right? So the first thing comes, okay, my initial 10 sales came from my outbound activity. Is it scalable? Can I keep doing that? You need to start generating your lead, you need to build up your lead generation model. So what we did is we need to start building the lead generation model. And also you need to start having sales team who can do selling without help of the founders. Because if founders keep selling be part of all the deals, you won't be able to scale rapidly. So what kind of sales rep you need to have? You need to have sales rep who are very experienced, somebody who is generalist, somebody who can just close the deal by making relationship, or you would need someone who can actually do end-to-end job, right, from generating the leads to qualifying them and so on, right? And what works in your pitch? Because every pitch, there will be something which resonates with your buyer. So what are those things in the pitch? So in our case, we recruited, in our first 4 hires what we had, 2 were sales guys. They were generalists. I'll tell you more about generalist. We had 1 marketer, basically who was expert in inbound marketing, generating leads via inbound channels, and 1 engineer. Because we both being from engineering background, we saw maximum risk in going to market. So that's why we initially, out of 4, we recruited 3 guys who were from the customer-facing jobs. In hindsight, what we realized actually, since we recruited 2 sales guys, it actually helped us to identify where's the bottleneck, whether it's a process, whether it's the pitch, whether it's a segment, whether it's the individual. So after that, actually, we are very strictly following that any experiments we want to do, we experiment in pairs. And it helps us to zero down very quickly. So initially, when we got our marketer in place and a couple of sales guys, so sales guys initially started, as I was saying, as a generalist. So they started generating their own leads the way the founders did initially, reaching out cold. Once there is a response, getting on the call, qualifying them, checking out whether there's a real need, setting up the demo, doing the demo. After demo, helping them for a trial, closing the deal. So all the steps were performed by them, right? Inbound marketers started experimenting on different lead gen channels, specifically like PPC, writing few blogs. So in PPC, again, it depends a lot on the category, whether the category is well-defined. If there's a well-defined category, there'll be huge volume. If it is a new category, then you'll have to figure out what are the keywords which would work. Some may be broad, which will bring in a lot of noise. Or the most low-hanging for most of the startups would be if there is a competition, the alternatives definitely starts generating few leads, which is a low-hanging, and you can start experimenting whether it works for your US market or global market. Because if there is a competitor in the US market, and if you start bidding on alternative keywords or competitor keywords, it would start getting you a few initial leads which would be interested in that particular product of that category. And you can start bouncing off your pitch and start refining it. So that's very low hanging, which we started with. As we started pitching, actually, initially I started pitching and I got my sales guy along with me in few of the calls. Gradually, sales guys started pitching and I was shadowing them and started helping them to refine the pitch. Every sales guy will have their own style. So we used to pick up what works for someone, doesn't work for the guy. We used to mix and match and kept on improving our script or improving our pitch. As I was mentioning that when you do the pitch, if you, some particular segment, let's say for in our case, we used to sell to product managers as well as L&D, as well as enablement operations team. There were multiple use cases for us. In some of the categories, some of the features used to resonate very well. There used to be, wow, awesome used to come out in during the demos. So we used to identify those and try to experiment that again in the subsequent demos for the similar user personas. So that helped us to identify what works in one category or one persona. That started creating a playbook for that particular segment or a vertical. So today, if I talk about today, we have a separate deck, separate pitch for a product manager, separate pitch for a L&D, separate pitch for enablement. We are going further deeper. Even for L&D, can we do a separate pitch for an industry-specific vertical, like for ISVs or a fintech or for manufacturing and so on? So as you go deeper and deeper, you would get a lot more insights, and your pitch would become much better. As the sales guy started performing, it became difficult for me to shadow in all the meetings, all the deals. So there came the need for tracking them, right? So XLS, we used to use Excels and all before that. So at that time, the first need came for a proper tool, and we got our first CRM license. That was, we started with Pipedrive. Today, we have migrated to Salesforce. And then initially, we started giving all the demos using regular tools like Hangout or Skype or something. And then we started needing a sophisticated tool where we can actually start even having recordings or analysis of the calls and so on. So we migrated to GoToMeeting and then later on RingCentral and so on. So it's very important to have your proper infrastructure also in place. As you start selling to different geography, like we started with India, then when we started inbound, leads started coming from different places, different countries actually, right, from Europe, Australia, as well as US. Initially, the two sales guys as well as myself, we used to give one demo in the afternoon, 3 p.m., maybe one in the morning, 11 a.m., and there'll be one demo in the night, 1 a.m., right? It started becoming chaotic when the lead volume started increasing. So that's where the need came of, started dividing the team into shifts. So today, we have very specialized teams. We have team working for APAC. We have team working for EMEA, and we have team working for US geography. So that was the first specialization we did of breaking down the team as per the geography so that they can have very clear-cut shifts. So the US guys, typically, they start working from 6 p.m. in the evening, and they go until the 3 a.m. As per the EST time zone. And most of the PST also gets covered. When they start working for a specific local geography, like whether it's in Europe or US, it's also very important to project to the potential customers that you are talking to a company locally, right? Because it's very difficult for a customer to believe that a company sitting 10,000 miles away can cater to your need. And this becomes one of the weapons for your competitors. Like initially when we used to get into competition stage, competitors would say, oh, those guys are sitting 10,000 miles away. I don't think so they're going to even respond to your tickets 12 hours, at least within 12 hours. If something happens, what are you going to do? Specifically, it becomes very, very competitive when you start going into the higher up market, like mid-market and large enterprises. So some of the workarounds, what we did was like having international phone numbers for every sales guy as per the geography which they were targeting, making them work in the shifts. Even in their laptops or the desktop, what they give, the demos, even the time zones or the times which is mentioned has to be as per the local. Their calendars are as per the local time. So when they send the invites or the emails, everything reflects the local geography. These are the small things, but it matters a lot when you start actually competing for every deal. And as you start moving, your process gets, as I was mentioning, the process of your sales process gets evolved. Like what is the first step after qualifying the customer, potential customer? Like what would you give a demo on? What environment? Is the environment stable enough? Is the environment separate for each sales guys because it should not be disturbed? So you start improvising the whole script, demo. Post-demo, what happens? How are you going to handhold? Are you going to have a free trial or are you going to have a paid pilot? In our case, we actually came up with something called, we did a lot of iterations, a lot of experiments like 7 days free trial, 14 days free trial, 28 days, came back to 7 days. Then we said, okay, no more free trials for us. We'll do co-creation, what they want. Once we give the demo, when there's already a touch, we try to identify exactly what's the requirement of the customer. Once the requirement is clear, and if they say we want a trial, we actually break down and say, okay, let's do a couple of co-creation sessions. We can sit down with you over a WebEx or something. We help you to implement Whatfix in 48 hours or in 3 or 4 sessions, and we can realize your requirement. So why would you need that 7 days trial? But that's a workaround so that we can speed up the process. So now, post-demo, there's a co-creation session. After co-creation session, what happens? Like, how do we sign up the contract and so on? So all those started evolving. Even the demo today, during the qualification itself, we ask the customer if they want Whatfix demo on their environment, can they set the credentials? So when we go for a demo, we are well prepared. We personalize to each customer's need and actually go for the demo so that even the sales cycles can squeeze down further. So all these things starts evolving as you go deeper. The next step, so now you have your sales and marketing playbook, like your lead generation is working, your sales model is working, your sales guys are able to sell independently, you have your scripts, you have your environment there, demo environment, all the process has been defined. Now you want to scale, right? So you have 2 or 3 or 4 sales guys with a founder coordinating with them. Now you want to double up. Your lead generation spend, you want to double up, right? Or you want to go 3x, 4x. So when you start recruiting now 4 to 5 new sales guys, the new challenges starts. How do you want to train them? How do you want to onboard them? How fast they can learn the product so they can avoid, they can do the proper objection handling. They can do the same good job what existing sales guys are doing along with the founders and so on. So that's where you would start seeing the need of maybe getting one of your first leadership, or you can say either a sales manager, or you might maybe a VP sales, depending on your, depending on the situation of your company. Once you have that leadership in place, the next thing you would like is like, okay, now you want to make it more process-oriented in terms of forecasting. Like, if I am having X number of leads, what's the conversion? And what's the ideal conversion? Which sales guys are converting at 20%, 30%, which guys are not? Why? Maybe learning the practices and sharing across. What's the quota? Can the quota improve as the process improves, right? So we started with the quota today, our quota for each sales guy is 4x than what we started. Because we know the predictability is better, we know the persona is clear, we know the process is there, and others are closing, why not? Maybe 4 guys are closing, why not the 5th guy, right? So the predictability becomes very, very clear. But when you do this, there's a high temptation to spend lots of dollars and run really fast, right? So that's where the cash efficiency is also very important. So when I say cash efficiency here, what it means is for every dollar what you spend in sales and marketing, how much new revenue or the ARR you add, right? So if you are spending $1, and if you're adding more than $1 in terms of your ARR, actually you're awesome. You're really doing good. But if you're adding much lower, let's say if you're adding 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 for every $1, then you would need a lot more upfront capital in terms of investments. So a lot of companies in US also work at the cash efficiency of maybe 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, but then they have to raise a lot of money because upfront capital is required. So just to add some more stuff, in our case, when we reached that initial sales process where sales guys were regularly closing, we started seeing some more issues, actually. So each sales guy used to reach out to the leads which was coming inbound, create the conversation, provide the demo, and start closing those deals. So once they have 10 to 15 conversations in place, they would know that they have to go behind the really hot ones and close 2 or 3 deals. So they would close in that month, and the next month there would be a dip. So sales guy A would close in the month Jan, and the February he may not see many closures. March he might see again. A B guy would say maybe Jan he's not closing, he will see in Feb. So there's an ups and downs. So what we realized is actually like the sales guys, when they have these conversations, 15, 18 conversations built, they are going forward to close those deals. And they are not adding new conversations. They are dropping those conversations. And when they close 2 or 3 deals and remaining they lose those deals, they start working on adding new conversations again. So we had to solve this problem. So what we did, specialization, right? So we got a couple of members on board who specialize in getting the leads from the inbound channels, reaching out to them and qualify them as per the requirement. If they're qualified, set up a demo, and pass it on to account executives or the sales guys. So the sales guys' job became very specialized. They have to only give the demos, do the post-demo activities, and close the deal, right? So we were when we were debating on this, we were a little worried that if sales guys only do demos and closure, will they be will it be inefficient process? Will they not be utilized sufficiently at this stage of the company? But what we realized after implementing this, actually they became even busier. They started personalizing the demos more. Their closure rate increased from 10% to 18%. The lead to demo conversion, which sales guys, when they were handling, it was around 20%. For every 5 leads which you used to get, they used to qualify one and has to give them demo. But when it went to the specialized team, that conversion from lead to demo went to 35%. So now more demos were coming in, more deals were getting closed. So the specialization started helping us a lot. We did a lot more specialization as we go forward. I'll show. Just to name, like from qualifiers, we had initially we had only sales guy, then we had qualifiers plus sales guy. Later on, we had qualifiers, then pre-sales guys who will help in putting in pilot in place or a demo in place. Then sales guys would do rest of the stuff. After sales guy, now we had legal and security guys also in place who would help them to close the deals. So every stages, we started doing specialization. At some points, when you start scaling faster here, you don't want to reinvent the wheel, because initially when the product was maturing, your process was maturing, you had enough time. But now when you want to really scale fast, you don't want to relearn which a lot of people have already done in the industry. So either you get your VP sales or some senior guys on board, but even if VP sales is transactional or maybe they are doing account-based selling, you might still need some skills which you don't have. So that's where we started getting some advisors or mentors who would be bringing in specific skills. So we got few advisors on board. One of the guy was like SVP of DocuSign who got it from 100 mil to 500 mil. He started spending 10 hours a month with us on how do we close large enterprise deals from like few 50s or 100K we were closing. How do we get to $250,000 or $500,000 or more? Because those are some of the things which you don't know, right? Somebody has to come and tell you. Similarly, on the marketing side, we were a lot more reliant on inbound channels. Now, how do I crack my outbound channels? Events is one, but how do I do cold calling and all? A lot of guys are there who are experts. So we got another guy from MSQL in US who is actually spending 5 hours a month and who actually helped us to set up the whole process. So complementing with the recruitment as well as expertise helped us actually to move this process really fast from here. And then further specializing, going not in terms of roles, but also in terms of target segments. So we'll touch upon these 2 slides. So in terms of, initially it was only the first specialization, first distribution or division what we did was based on geo. We divided the team, as I was mentioning, based on shifts because the time was a compulsion for us, like US, EMEA. First it was US and then rest of the world. Then we made it US, EMEA, and APAC. So after dividing that, we realized that further we need to divide the team based on the size of the company which we are targeting. So these are the 2 main ones which we did. So within US geography, the team was again divided who would handle small business and who will handle large and very large enterprises. So we have again 3 divisions there. After success in US, we replicated the same thing to EMEA. We are going to do it now for APAC as well. The third one which is currently in process for us is dividing the team further within the large enterprises into named account and industry verticals. Because the kind of expertise what sales guys or the team builds for a specific vertical, it can be easily replicable. If I am selling it to, let's say, Daimler in an automobile, it's very easy for me to replicate to maybe Volkswagen or a lot of other automobile companies. So that expertise can be reused and the efficiency will be much better. So we are going further deeper into that. In terms of marketing channels, so we spoke a lot about the sales process. So as I was mentioning, we were relying a lot on inbound. So inbound included our PPC, content. We use some marketplaces like GetApp, Capterra, G2Crowd, as well as to drive the leads. Then we added some more sources like participating community forums like off Salesforce, off ServiceNow, because they were the lead generation sources for us. We started participating in Quora. Quora started driving almost 50 to 80 leads a month for us. So several of these sources started contributing and gave us a healthy growth curve for our inbound channels. So this is the last few quarters. It really grew well for the last couple of years. But then we wanted to grow even faster. So we started adding events, if you see the red ones. But events has its own limitations again, right? You need to be physically present in those geographies. You need to spend a lot of dollars, and events are still unpredictable, right? They're good for brand building, but not sure about the ROI, right? And we were also learning how to do events. So, but then we thought, okay, let's add some more channels there. And that's where, if you see the yellow one, the first 2 quarters, we experimented, things were not working, we iterated again and again, and then finally now it's just started shooting up, and we are just going 4x, 5x on that now. So when you start adding new channels, each channel will need its own style of sales playbook, right? So when I'm getting something inbound, there is a clear need. I need to just go and check the requirements, qualify the customers, give the demo, and so on. But when you're going outbound, you need to create the need. You need to create the awareness. If they have the need, you need to make them realize, right? So the process becomes a little different. It becomes a lot more educational, actually. Similarly, from outbound, you can go very niche. If I want to go behind only Salesforce customers, I can do that, right? If I want to go only behind product managers, I can do that. It can be very, very clear. Scripts can be very clear. So your playbook will also evolve for different channels accordingly, and that's how it's happening for us. Today, so if you further break down, how the process is matured, this is the SDR process, basically how the lead gets in, that is different inbound channels. We expect our SDRs within few minutes of the leads hitting in the inbox to reply to them, respond to them. Before responding, we want them to do minimal research, like company size, how much funding can they afford, whether the person who is reaching out is a decision maker, and so on. Then they will try several times to get in touch. It's not like they will try for 2 or 3 times and drop it. They will try at least 10 times before dropping the lead. Right? So it would be a combination of email, LinkedIn, your phone calls. We have also implemented automation for last few quarters using tools like Outreach. There are several other tools like Salesloft and all. It helps actually improving your conversions there. Once these qualifiers are able to reach, SDRs are able to reach the potential customer, they try to qualify them. One of the method we use called BANT. Basically, we try to identify whether they have a budget, the person has an authority, is there a need, and is there a clear timeline. So if they qualify this BANT, the demo has been set up for the account executives, we call the sales guys. If not, they would either put them into a drip campaign or maybe they disqualify and so on. Right? This is the process for inbound leads. Similarly, we have built the process for even outbound leads. Right? In this case, first we create the database of the persona of the segment which we want to target. Once it is done, the database is created either internally or we also complement with several tools in the market like Discover and other ones. And they get assigned to the BDRs, we call business development representatives. So they would try to reach out to the folks via calls, emails, and so on. Here, the touch points are much higher than what we need for inbound. They would have a cadence running for a couple of months. It might be 14, 15 times they would try to reach out to those guys. Once they reach, they try to again qualify here, but qualification process is different. Because we know that we are going behind this person, this company, they need Whatfix. So we are not qualifying the need here. We are actually trying to create the awareness of the need. We're trying to sell Whatfix actually initially, create that excitement, and get them to the product demonstration. So once this opportunity has been set, it again goes to account executives. So now there are 2 different sources for account executives, inbound as well as outbound. And once it hits the funnel sales pipeline, again, when you get a 40-45 minutes session with the sales guys, they would actually, again, do a deeper qualification. Going into details of the requirements. First 10-15 minutes would be actually a lot of discussions in terms of we ask our sales guys to make sure that customer speaks more than they speak in the first 10-15 minutes. It should not be just go and just do a feature vomit, right? Don't just go into feature description. Just make them speak a lot. Identify the clear need. Based on that, tailor the demonstrations, show the value prop. And then, before closing the call, immediately identify what's the next step, next action, right? So once it is done, either they'll be having a co-creation session or a trial or a POC. Based on that, in our case, we have technical analysis, basically how Whatfix can get deployed or integrated. Once that is clear, there will be security clearance or IT clearance. Post that, there will be negotiation, contracts, and so on. This process might vary depending on the company to company. based on the price points and all. So in our case, because our price points went from like few thousands to a few tens of $1,000s, even few $100,000, so inside sales model worked for us. If it's less than a couple of $1,000s, maybe a low touch or a no touch model would work much better. And if it's much more larger, few $100,000 and above, I think you would need to have a feet on street as well. Some of the things which we have learned while selling to US and other geographies, specifically for US, since we are doing remote, it's still because any sales, what we have learned, whether it's a remote, in-person, or a lot of sales are done based on relationship, right? But how do we build relationship when we are so far away, right? So some of the things which we try is understanding their culture, right? How do you pronounce stuff? What the guys in that particular geography would be interested in. Second, creating awareness among our sales guys in terms of meeting etiquettes, right? So even if we are giving a demo remotely, doesn't mean you give it in the pajamas, right? You still can wear well. Keep your videos on so that you see the person and start building that relationship and rapport, right? Managing the environment, we have already spoken. Time zone, we have already spoken. The last but not least, the travel in person. So again, it goes against that what we spoke about inside sales, but sending a couple of your top performing sales guys to the local geography where they've been selling, either part of the events or just to meet some of the customers which they sold, it will boost their confidence tremendously. And when they come back, you would see there's a jump in the sales conversion. The confidence they try to sell, they'll start selling bigger deals. So I think it's very important for them to go to that geography, see the culture, meet the people, meet the customers whom they have sold. It will just shoot their confidence. Finally, on team motivation part, so how do we motivate when you're continuously increasing your sales team, right? So clear goals, basically in terms of KPIs, in terms of your quota conversions. Having clarity really helps. Most important is incentives, right? So initially, you might have lower quota. You don't want to give very high quota and none of your sales guys are meeting. So you would put lower quota, but then you also don't want to have a situation where everybody hits the quota and then say, okay, kya karna? I don't know how to go to office, I have met my goals, right? So you want to incentivize them so that they can keep running faster. So after even hitting quota, maybe you can offer them, for every dollar additional they add, you can give more incentives to that. And it has really worked. Many of times, sales guys have hit double the quotas. Kickers or bonuses. Like sometimes you want to align your business to sales, how it's coming. For example, let's say most of your deals are monthly, quarterly, or annually. Now you want to start experimenting, can I get a multi-year deals, right? It was very difficult to even visualize for us a few years back. But today, like every month, we have few deals which is coming multi-year and customers paying upfront. So it all started by incentivizing the sales guys, saying, okay, if you get a multi-year deal, for the first year, you will get to your quota. For the second, third, fourth year, what additional revenue you will get additional kickers or additional bonus out of it. And you see those guys like actually trying their level best to get the multi-year deal in place. And it really works well. While doing all these things, do not ignore your other departments, right? So because there is somebody building there, the marketing guys are generating, success guys are supporting. So keep them involved by circulating regular mails and appreciating their efforts as well. Advisors, basically, as I mentioned, it really helps. There's a typo there. So it really helps your sales guys in saying, okay, we are learning, we are continuously growing our expertise by learning from the experts. So it also motivates a lot. Then there are some deals which you...
What are the typical sales target you give? Is it 5x, 10x? And if you can also throw some specific
salaries,
insights on the bonuses, is it that would help as well?
Okay, so in terms of salary to ratio of the targets, India, you would say 8x we have. I feel it can go further to 10x as the efficiency improves because our deal size now consistently we are closing 80 to 100K deals, so it becomes easier. In US, we have set up an office in US also start of the year, so there it would be like 4x. Okay. In terms of bonuses, so what we did is actually in US it's very clear. 50% of your 50% will be fixed, 50% will be variable. In India, if you ask somebody 50% variable, they'll not join you. Right? So you typically start small. You start with 15, 20, 25% variable, whatever is possible. And in the subsequent raise, you try to manage that. So in terms of quota, if they hit 100% quota, we give 100% variable. If they cross the quota, we try to multiply the variable. So that also incentivizes that if somebody is hitting the quota regularly and crossing that, they would say, I want more variable now. right? So that's one way. Another kicker what we tried was if you hit multi-year deal, for example, so let's say if you got 3x of your revenue, 20K was the deal, 25K was the deal, and you got 75K upfront for 3 years. So 25K first would go anyway in your quota. The remaining 50K, give them few percentage of that, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on the situation. Right? So that motivates them for getting. So now we also trying on professional services. So we also given kicker for that. Like you get additional professional services, and you get bonus out of it. So there are various ways. Again, we keep experimenting.
Excuse
So there are various stages, right? So is it for all the people or only at a certain?
So I'm a very strong believer of one person, one KPI. So sales guys, their KPI is dollars, so they get incentivized on that. For the SDRs, their KPI is number of opportunities set. So if they set more the opportunities, they get kickers or they get incentives on that. They don't have direct relation with dollars. A lot of companies do that, but as of now, we have not done because I don't believe that so much. So everybody has their own.
we hold the questions later.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, Khadim.